Good. So welcome everyone to tonight's masterclass. It's called Relaunch. 4 keys to relaunch your life, career, and business. The world has changed. It's obvious with what happened with the coronavirus and the pandemic, and a lot of things has been happening in the world. And I chose to show you two different pictures, one in France and one in Hong Kong. But clearly, a major shift is happening around the world, and behavior are starting to change because of the coronavirus and to avoid the pandemic. So a range of habits that we used to take for granted, now we have to rethink in the way we're going to live and adapt to a new form of behavior. If you look at some studies from the group Accenture and the firm Accenture, and if you look at consumers are more fearful of the economic impact of COVID-19 than for their health. And so they've done studies and looking at the behavior of people and looking at two different aspects, the health aspect and the economic aspect. And they're looking also for the personal or the whole society as a whole. And what the research shows is that people are more worried about the health of other people, but they're also more worried about the whole economy, the impact on the economy as a whole, rather than just about their job security. And so this tells us one thing is that people care about other people, sometimes more than themselves. And the economy is really important, and people are becoming more aware with what's happening in the economy at the moment. And so there's a lot of uncertainty and challenging times for people to be able to adapt and find out what's going to happen, because most people have no clue. We've never been through this type of situation in the past. And so we have to adapt and kind of figure it out, the things as we go along. And so that's why a lot of people are worried about the impact on the economy of the COVID-19. Now, this is just a data from the RBA, which is the Reserve Bank of Australia, showing that they predict a peak of unemployment in 2020. And they forecast different scenarios. They have a baseline, and then they have the upside, meaning that if it doesn't get as bad as they think, and they have the downside if it gets worse. But what it shows is that from 2020 to up to 2022, there's going to be a surge of unemployment in the country. And this is not just about Australia, but it's also happening all across the world. For example, probably the worst situation would be what's happening in the US at the moment, with a huge amount of employment and a lot of unrest in the States. So this has a few impacts in terms of, okay, what can we do about it? Either we sit on the side and just look and hope that thing is going to get better, or we decide to be a bit more proactive and look, okay, there's an opportunity here. What can we do about it? Further studies have shown using a consumer looking at COVID-19, and they predict that COVID-19 will permanently change the consumer behavior. And you probably find out by yourself that your attitudes toward purchasing or buying has been changing quite a bit lately, and you've been more cautious. And so what they find is that consumer attitudes, behavior, and purchasing habits are changing. People are becoming more conscious and more careful about what they're going to do, what they're going to invest in, what they're going to buy. They're buying more local and embracing also digital commerce. Because of the social distancing, people are forced to jump online to be able to do their purchase that they would normally do face-to-face or in person or in a shop. And people are jumping onto digital transformation. People are also forced to find new ways to manage isolation. With the lockdown, we just finished recently, people had to find different ways to be able to connect using digital technology. They also spend a bit more time to learn and play using digital technology. And moving forward, they predict that we'll see an increase in the virtual workforce. And so when they did a survey, they found out that 46% of people who never worked from home previously now plan to work from home more often in the future. And so that's going to dramatically change what's going to happen in the workforce and the way businesses and organizations are managing their employees and the way people carry out their work. And so some of the lessons from the pandemic and the coronavirus, we can extract a few lessons from what's happening globally. But I think one of the major lessons is that we realize that human existence, human life is kind of fragile. We just need to have one virus that starts to spread all across the globe. And then there's a major health crisis in many, many countries, including developed countries. We also realize the importance of social connection. With the lockdown happening in many countries around the world, people are looking for solutions to be able to continue to connect. And so that's reinforced our social nature. We have a strong need to be able to connect with other people. And the people that embrace digital technology have been able to continue their connection. And so it poses a dilemma for people that are kind of afraid of the new technology and the digital transformation. It poses a threat for them in terms of their social connection and their ability to continue to interact with other people. We have been forced also to redefine our priorities. A lot of things that we used to take for granted have disappeared, especially in the lockdown period. And so we have been forced to refine and redefine our priorities and choose carefully and find out what is really critical, what is necessary from what is just a luxury or something that is nice to have. And that's why consumer behavior has changed toward people looking more for necessity rather than buying luxuries. And there's also a change in behavior because as we started to get out of the lockdown, not in every country, but some countries are still on lockdown, but as we move away from the containment phase, then we're going to move towards the management phase. And we have to adapt our behavior in order to kind of curtail the spread of the virus. And so that will impose some change in behavior in the way we work, in the way we recreate, in the type of entertainment we can have. And overall, it's going to be a major change about how we live in our lifestyle. And so these are some of the lessons that we learned from coronavirus, and there's probably going to be more to come in the future as the different countries and the economy in the world globally try to figure it out how to best make it work in the future. But we have clearly fragility of existence, the importance of social connections more than ever, redefining priorities, so we have to think about how we're going to focus on our priorities now, and we'll have to adapt and change our behavior. The world today and tomorrow won't be the world as before COVID-19. There's no turning back. And so therefore, we'll have to find our new way to be able to adapt in. And somehow, sometimes we have to be able to reinvent ourselves, maybe reinvent our career, or perhaps also reinvent our business or the way we do business. And so we have a huge opportunity to be able to reinvent the future, the type of future we want, and at the same time reinvent ourselves to be able to maximize our opportunity in the future. So this masterclass, who is this masterclass for? So this masterclass has been designed if you had enough of struggle and grind. COVID-19 showed us that life is precious and time is precious. And just keep going and putting up with sacrifice and trying to just avoid making the most out of life is not necessarily the best solution, because tomorrow can be your last day. We don't know. And so if you had enough of struggle and grind, if you had enough of working in a job feeling meaningless but just because your job pays the bill, or if you had enough of wasting your time, or if you have enough of missed opportunities, this masterclass is here to help you, show you some simple strategies and ways to focus on to help you regain your personal power and show you a simple strategy for you to be able to maximize your opportunity in the future. You can live in the past and focus on the past and wish the past would be the same as now, but you're just missing an opportunity that you can create something greater for yourself, for your career, and for your business, even with all that is happening right now in the world. And so this is for you if you'd love to express your full potential. You have a unique opportunity now. We've been in lockdown for 8 weeks, most of the people around the globe, and some still in there. And there's an opportunity to reflect on life, reflect on what you want really out of life and where you want to go in the future. This is for you if you are daring and you're out of the box and you want to do your own thing. Now might be a great time for you to create something unique that didn't exist before, but might be required or necessary in the future because of new needs that are emerging globally in the population. You might have realized that it's important to find what is your purpose in life, because if you don't know your purpose, if you don't live on purpose, you probably realize that you lack meaning and fulfillment. And so maybe now is the opportunity for you to be able to get a bit more clarity on what your purpose may be and what you can do to be able to live your life on purpose. And no doubt that we all realize during these times of crisis that contributing to society and making a difference is important. And so perhaps now is the time for you to be able to make a meaningful contribution. What's going to happen in the future, maybe through yourself, maybe through your career, or perhaps through creating a new business. And so we are living in times of opportunities for those that are ready and willing to be able to take the opportunity. So my goal for the masterclass is to show you a path, a simple path, to reclaim your personal power so you can design, create, and own your future. I'm going to do the best I can to help you clear some brain noise. Especially right now, we are bombarded with a lot of information, contradictory information, misleading information. And so that can get overwhelming and can put us stuck in a way that we don't know what to do. We feel stuck, we don't know how to move forward. And so I want to give you today some simple things to focus on and a simple 4-step strategies to clear the brain noise and help you focus on your priorities. My goal is to help you get unstuck by sharing a simple strategy that is going to help you deliver real life results. So for those who don't know me yet, I'm just going to briefly share a little bit of my story and why I'm here. So you probably figure out that I have an accent. So I come from France. I was born in France. And from a very young age, I was fascinated by life. So much so that when I was 8 years old, my parents bought me a microscope so I can study bugs, study things in the backyard. And that was wonderful. And that led me to start a career in the biology. So I studied biology at school, then went to study biology at university, and ended up doing a PhD in molecular genetics and cell biology in France. And that put me on my trajectory to study medical research and work in medical research for 15 years. I work mainly in cancer research and neuroscience, working with neurological disorders. I work with epigenetics. I work with stem cell research, all related around the neuroscience and the aspects of health and disease, and mostly the ability to understand how external factors can influence internal dynamic of the cells, especially around gene expression and repair of the genome. And so I work in the field of medical research for 15 years for a private institute and then for the University of Queensland. And after so many years of research, I started to get a bit frustrated with research, especially with the systems that was very limiting and was preventing, in a way, researchers from being able to be more creative and exploring new territories. The field of research became more like a politics and more like a business and managing business that was killing the creativity. And so gradually I felt more and more disengaged with my work. The more I was studying, the more I was realizing that the physical aspect of life is very limited, and there's something that we're not allowed to do in the traditional sense of medical research to be able to explore, which is the mind. In 2007, I had a turning point when I read a book from the Dalai Lama, which is called The Universe in a Single Atom, which basically the book shows that research, science, and religion are looking for the same thing. What's the meaning of life? What's the origin of life? They just have two different ways of studying and two different point of view, but they're looking for the same answers. They have the same quest. And so from that point, I realized that I never really talked about or looked for what was my purpose before. I was just doing medical research because it was interesting. I loved it. And I was very curious. But I never really think about what is the bigger picture of my life, why I'm here, what is my purpose, what I'm supposed to do here. And so this started me on a personal development journey. And I realized after a few years that, well, traditional academic research and medical research is not really who I am. I'm much more than that. And so I decided to quit my academic career and leave the medical research to start my own entrepreneurial journey. And so in 2010, with Marcia, we launched Mastery to Success, which is our coaching and consulting business. And so far, I haven't looked back because this vehicle allowed me to express my full potential, my scientific mind, but also my more curious and, let's say, esoteric and spiritual mind. And this allows me to blend the two together to have a more holistic picture around life and make a significant contribution in people. So over the past 10 years, with Marcia, we've been fortunate to be able to work with people from around the globe. And the main thing we do with people is help them uncover their potential, break through roadblocks, and be able to create a vocation organized around their skills, their talents, and their knowledge. And that has been a really fulfilling journey so far. And so that's why I'm here today. My goal is to give you some tips, some strategies to be able to help you unlock your potential, break through some potential emotional, mental roadblocks, and also give you some ideas on how you can wrap a career, a vocation around what makes you unique. Because I believe everyone on this planet is born here for a purpose and everyone has a unique thing to bring to the planet. And my job, including with Marcia's job, our job, is to be able to do whatever we can to help people discover that and put that into practice and implement it so they can live really their true potential and live it on purpose. So that's my short story. And in my journey of my entrepreneurial journey, I discovered three things. I discovered that first, the real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. It's about developing more self-awareness. Very often we look for solutions outside of ourselves, when most of the solutions are within us. And it requires us to have a deeper look at who we are, uncover new things that we never knew about ourselves. And that's what happened to me in my journey in medical research. The second important lesson I've learned is that envy is ignorance and imitation in suicide. If you try to be someone you're not, you're ignorant of your own magnificence. And if you try to imitate, you cannot killing yourself. So what I've learned through that journey is that we're just here to be ourselves and maximize our potential. And this is related to the most original contribution we can create in the world. And the last lesson I've learned, which is a bit more recently, from a mathematical statistician and risk analyst, which says that I'm not here to live a happy life. I'm here to have dimension with variation. So what that means is I'm here to live my purpose, my unique purpose. But I'm also here to give myself the opportunity to explore it through different means, through different activities. And so I have one purpose, but I have many ways to be able to express that purpose. And so these are the three main lessons I've discovered from my journey moving from medical research and academic into the sphere of entrepreneurship. We're here to be ourselves, and it starts by having a new awareness about who we are and looking deeper to uncover the greatness that is inside. We are not here to try to be someone else. And we're here to have some kind of one purpose, and we have one purpose, and our life already demonstrates our purpose. But we're also here to be able to explore and enjoy the different forms of how we can express our purpose. And so these are the three lessons that really guide the work that Marcia and I do on a daily basis with our clients. And so today in this masterclass, the focus is three things. And I want you to realize that focus dictates the quality of your life. The second point is that there is a critical mindset shift that is needed in order for us to adapt to the future and not just survive but thrive into the future. And I'm going to share with you a four-step strategy to relaunch yourself, which is the four priorities that if you focus on that and work on it and implement, you're going to be able to relaunch yourself and create a lot of opportunities for you in the future. So let's start with focus first. So here's a definition of focus. It's a center of attention, attraction, or activity. And I like the ancient wisdom because there's a lot of things we can learn from past philosophers. For example, this philosopher Epictetus is a Stoic philosopher. He was born in 50 AD, but this is roughly in 100 AD. And so he has an interesting quote that we can apply right now in what's happening currently in life. So the quote says, "The chief task in life is simply this, to identify and separate matters, so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals, not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control." And so Epictetus clearly says that there's two things in life, the things we have control over and the things we don't have control over. And making the distinction between the two is the chief task in life, is what we're here to do. And so I like to bring these ideas into a more modern way by using two circles. And I'm going to call one the circle of a concern and the other one the circle of influence. The circle of the concern is all the external things that we worry about, that we focus around, but we don't have any direct control over. These are all the things that we are interested, we put our attention, our focus, but we don't have really much capacity to change. On the other hand, we have our circle of influence. This is the circle of the things that we have choices, that we have control, and that we have the power to change. And the relationship between these two circles is quite important. Not one circle is more important than the other, but what is more important and crucial is the relationship between those two circles. So let's start with this first example. We have a big circle of concern and we have a very small circle of influence. And so when we focus a lot and we put all our attention onto the things external from us where we don't have much control, what's going to happen is we're going to feel hopeless, powerless, frustrated, and stuck. Simply because we put all our attention on things that we cannot control, we don't have much choice over. For example, if I put all my attention about the weather and I want to try to change the weather, it's not going to happen. And so I'm going to feel frustrated if someday or tomorrow the weather is not exactly the way I want it to be. So the more I put my attention and focus and energy on my circle of concern, and the more that circle of concern is distant from my circle of influence, the more I'm going to feel disempowered, frustrated, hopeless, helpless, and ultimately depressed. Now we can look at the other situation when we have a big circle of influence and a very small circle of concern. That means that there's a lot of things we can do. We have control over a lot of things. However, we don't care much about what's happening outside of us. And so the greater the distance between our circle of influence and our circle of concern ultimately can lead to boredom. Because there's nothing, we don't care about what's happening around us. We're just constantly into our narcissistic sphere. And so that leads to disconnection from what's happening in the world, disconnection from other people, and ultimately boredom. However, what we can do is we can find a way to have our circle of concern and circle of influence close together. The way we want to have that is we want to have the circle of concern a little bit bigger than a circle of influence. And the reason we want that is that because it's going to create a tension between what we care and what we can do about. And so it's going to create a healthy tension between challenges and support, difficulty and skills. And that's how we create flow. So the more we can create a relationship that is close enough between our circle of concern and our circle of influence, the more we are going to feel empowered, the more we are going to feel that we have a possibility and we have a capability to effect change in the world. And so if we manage to have this relationship, close enough relationship between those two circles, our goal in life is simple. Our goal is just to increase both circles simultaneously. The more we grow our circle of influence, the more we grow our circle of concern. And as both circles grows together, we keep increasing our influence, the things we can achieve, and making a difference in the world. So remember, both circles are important. The circle of concern and the circle of influence, they're both important. However, the key point is the relationship between the two. You don't want to have them too separate or too disconnected from one the other. Otherwise, it's going to lead some issues. But the goal is to keep them side by side and keep growing both of them. Grow your circle of concern, grow your circle of influence. In other words, grow your level of difficulty, increase your level of skills. Grow further your level of difficulty, increase further your level of skills. And that is the way you're going to find a meaningful and fulfilling life, because you're going to be able to have greater degrees of influence. You're going to be able to solve greater level of complexity in problem solving, and you're going to be able to affect a greater number of people and have a greater reach through your original contribution. So as I said before, the circle of influence is the only thing that we have control of. And there's three things we have control of in our circle of influence: our perception, how we see the world, our decision, and our action, how we act upon the world. And these are really the only three things we really have control of. I don't have control over other people. I don't have control over other people thinking. I have control over my own perception and how I see the world and how I react or respond. I have control of the decision I make or do not make. And I have control of the actions that I take and do not take. And so if you focus on your circle of influence, which is your perception of the world, the decision you can make and the actions you can take, suddenly what's going to happen is you're going to feel that you are in control. You can change what's happening in your life and you can change your circumstances. Instead of blaming outside external influences and circumstances, suddenly by focusing on your perception or working on your perception, your decisions and your actions, you regain your personal power and the ability to design, create, and own your future. So here's a quick reality check for you. And three simple questions. Are you focusing on what truly matters right now, or are you focusing on trivialities? Are you focusing on watching the news and something that you can do nothing about, or are you focusing on what you can do about your life, your family, and your business or your career? Are you best using your focus to create your future, or are you living in the past? Are you focusing on the good old days rather than trying to brainstorm problem solving and find creative solutions about the future and what you want to create in the future? And the third question is, are your results matching your focus and effort? Are you spending a lot of time and putting a lot of focus and effort in things that are external to you when you have no control or no power over, and therefore not getting much result? Or are you focusing and putting all your effort into the things that you have control of, your circle of influence, and are your results matching your focus and your effort? So these are three simple questions, but I think it's really important to be able to reflect on where we focus on. Because right now there's so much information, there's so much distractions happening around the world that we can spend our day watching the news and getting depressed and not moving forward. It's not about the news. The responsibility is not about the news. The responsibility is with ourselves. How we choose to put our attention and focus is our own responsibility. And so the reality check for you is, are you best using right now your attention and focus and energy to be able to create the result you want to create for yourself in the future? It's about taking ownership and responsibility. Focus directs energy, influences actions, and determines result. And so in the purple circle, this is our circle of concern. If we focus everything we have, our attention, our energy, our effort into our circle of concern, it's just going to get dissipated in every direction. However, if we decide consciously to focus our energy, actions, and intention and attention on our circle of influence, we're going to be able to create some results, some tangible results for ourselves. So again, reflect on what's happening right now in your life. Are you focusing more on your circle of concern, or are you focusing on your circle of influence and making a difference? So here's another question for you. What is the one thing you can do today to best use your focus and optimize your actions so you can create the result that you truly want? If there was one thing to focus on that will create the greatest result, what would it be? Okay, so now that we've talked about the focus and the importance of clearly identifying where we put our focus and our mind to, let's have a look at the critical mindset shift that is needed in order to be able to leverage the opportunities in the future. So here's a quick definition of mindset. It's a set of attitudes, disposition, inclinations, and opinion. And why do I think there is a mindset shift that is happening and it is necessary and required for the future? We have to change and make a mindset shift to move from consumer to producer. That is what the future is going to rely on and depend upon. The consumer mentality leads to more excess, which leads to basically undermining what's happening in the world, undermining the country, undermining the planet, the resources, the natural resources, and having a very short-term vision. However, producers is about leveraging what we have and creating something new to be able to be more sustainable into the future. It's about producing value and adding value to people in the world. Consuming is about depleting resources. So there's two ways to look at the consumer mentality. The first one is called play not to lose. And people that are in the consumer mentality and the play not to lose, they're stuck in the past and they're lacking vision. They are resisting change and they want to delay innovation. They don't want to change. They don't want new innovation. And so they focus on the good old days. And it's a fear-based survival because you're playing not to lose, so you don't want to lose. So that has the connotation of that scarcity mentality. So basically, play not to lose is about focusing on the past, ignoring the future, resisting change, which is inevitable, not adapting to innovation and new technology potentially, and living in fear because you're just focusing on what you're going to lose. So that's one way to look at the consumer mentality, the mindset. The other way to look at the consumer mentality is to play to win. And this is about people that are working hard and hustling, ultimately leading to burnout. And people live in the future because they say, when I have XYZ, I'll be successful, I'll be happy, I'll be fine. And so they're constantly living in a world of lacking something. Again, it's a different aspect of scarcity. And people living in a play to win, they're mostly doing things so they can be recognized and validated by external people. And so they're not really driven intrinsically by what's most important and meaningful to them, but they're more driven about what other people are going to think about themselves, how they're going to look at them, how they're going to judge them. And so ultimately, this is also not a sustainable way of moving forward into the future. And that is attached to another form of scarcity mentality. So what is the consumer mentality? How can we change our mindset? Well, being a producer is having fun playing with what we have. It's about defining what success means to us. It's not about what success means to other people. It's about defining what it means to us. It's about finding and utilizing our greatest talent and skills because we already have them. Very often we underestimate them, we misvalue them, we misjudge them, or we ignore them. But they're there. If we look deep enough, remember I say it's not about seeking new landscape, it's about having new eyes. Everything we need is already within us. It's also about removing obstacles that can cloud our clarity, mostly around dealing with mental roadblock or emotional roadblock. And it's about really valuing ourselves so we are able to reinvest back into ourselves, our own personal development. This is having fun. It's about solving problem and creating more abundance. It's about solving problem for ourselves and for other people. And that's how we create more abundance into the world and into our lives. It's about being present, living in the moment, and looking at what we can create to make an exciting future. It's about finding ways to profit up front by delivering a service or a product that is going to make a difference in someone's life. And it's about also taking the time to celebrate the wins along the way. It's not about what's going to happen when I get to the end. It's really about enjoying the journey and celebrating every little win along the way. Not living for some distant future and hoping that everything's going to be fine. If we don't appreciate the journey, we're missing out on life. So that is being a producer. And so here's another reality check for you. Honestly, what is your dominant mindset? Remember, you don't have to share with anyone. It's just for you. But the most important thing is to really honestly answer that question. What is your dominant mindset? Is it play not to lose? And you're living in the past and hoping that things go back to what was before COVID-19? Is it play to win, chasing some kind of utopic future where everything will be fine when you have a certain amount of money, a certain amount of fame, a certain amount of status, and missing out on what's happening right now? Or is your dominant mindset have fun playing and making sure that you get most of the opportunities for yourself by being true, authentic, real, and making the most out of every moment? Abundance is born of human ingenuity, innovation, and service. And at the moment, the world is one of the biggest tests to look for how the world is going to create abundance again. If we look at the forecast, the economic forecast, there's a contraction in GDP for the world, which is about 3%. From some countries, it might go from as little as 1.2% positive in China to -6 or -8% in different countries. Australia, they forecast a -6% contraction in GDP. And so we're going to need to develop our ingenuity. We're going to need to innovate. And we're going to need to serve more people and deliver better quality service if we want to create abundance for ourselves. So now I'm going to talk about the 4 keys to relaunch. And this is a simple 4-step strategy that I want to share with you, because if you focus on those 4 different aspects and take action on it and implement some of the key points I'm going to share, you're going to be able to make some progress and get more clarity, more certainty, and more confidence about the way forward. And so these 4 keys are value creation, adaptability, connection, and cash flow. And we're going to go through each of them separately. So the first one, value creation. Why is value creation important? Well, we're born creators. The most basic thing we can create is called procreate. We can make kids. That's the most basic way of creation. And so we are born creator. We have a unique capacity in our mind to be able to create things, to solve problems, to solve even complex problems. We have the ability to abstract things. So we can create with ideas. We can create physically, we can create tangibly, we can create intangibly. So we are all born creators. And we're also all hardwired to solve problems. A very simple way we solve problems is we develop a habit. When we constantly face a problem, we develop the capacity to be able to create a solution, and we can hardwire it into habit. Therefore, we don't even have to think about solving the problem. We just create a habit, and it becomes an automatic mechanisms for us to solve that daily recurrent problem. And there's two primary needs for humans. We have a need of self-expression. We are born here for a reason. We have a unique purpose. We have a unique set of skills, a unique set of talents that we're going to develop throughout life. And so we're born here in this realm of existence to be able to express ourselves. But we also have a need of contribution. We also have a need to make a difference in other people's lives. And so this is why it's important to create value. Because by creating value, we're going to have the capability and the opportunity to express ourselves, express our unique talents and gifts, while making a contribution in other people's lives. That's why value creation is the thing that makes the world go around. I love this quote. It says, summarize what I just said. Without self-expression, life lacks spontaneity and joy. And without service to others, it lacks meaning and purpose. And so when we are able to express ourselves and make a contribution to other people's life, we have joy, we have spontaneity, but we also have meaning and purpose. So there's two different perspectives to look at the big picture and to look at the small focus. And these are the two different perspectives we need to be able to create value. So the big picture is about what is my one thing in life? What is my purpose? This is the big picture. And the small focus is what is most important and meaningful to me right now. In other words, what we call our values. Our values are something that are personal and unique to us. And it's what is most important and meaningful to us, and it's what drives our every decision, actions, and behavior. And so these are the two ways we want to look at when we think about creating value and adding value to other people's lives. The big picture about the purpose and the values. And so imagine, I like to use this analogy, imagine you are the iceberg. And this is what's happening. So as an iceberg, we have two different sides, a visible side, which is the conscious side, and we have an unconscious side. What we can see in life is our actions and our results and the decision we make. Everybody can observe that. However, what dictates the decision, action, and result that we get in life are something that is very often unconscious and what we call our own values, our core values or personal values, which is what is most meaningful and important to us. And this is unique for every individual. And further down unconsciously is our core drivers. These are our most unconscious motive that determines our values. And so if we look at the icebergs, the core driver dictates the values dictates our decisions influence our actions, and our actions determines the results we get in life. And so that's why it's really important to be clear and have some form of clarity around what our values are, if we want to be able to influence the decision, actions, and the result we want. If we want to change the result we currently have, having an awareness of our values is the most effective and efficient path to be able to change that. So here's a reality check for you again. So here what I'd like you to answer this question on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all and 10 being 100% absolutely. And so if we look at those three questions, so the first question is, I am crystal clear about my purpose. If you're not clear about your purpose, if you have no clue about your purpose, or if you're uncertain of your purpose, you're going to score yourself around 1 or a little bit more. However, if you're 100% crystal clear of your purpose, you have certainty of your purpose, you're going to score yourself around 10. And anything in between is going to show you some level of clarity on unclarity about your purpose. The second question is, I'm fully aware and live according to my true values. If you have no clue about what your true values are and you think you're living like in a pinball, like bumping from things to things and not really understanding why you do things or feeling you're doing things randomly, you're probably going to score yourself around 1. If you're fully aware and you're fully conscious that you're living according to your true values, you're going to score yourself closer to 10. And the third question is, I'm totally confident of the value I can offer. So here, value means something different from the second question. Value here means the value proposition. It means the uniqueness, it means the greatness that you can offer. If you're totally confident on your value proposition and the type of market value you can offer to other people, you're going to score yourself around 10. If you have no clue about it, it's going to be more likely around 1. And so what I'd like you to do is to score yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 for those 3 questions. I'm crystal clear about my purpose. I'm fully aware and live according to my true values. And I'm totally confident of the value I can offer. These reality check exercises are just for you to help you do a self-assessment and find out where are you currently sitting in your life and what is the room of improvement. Where are some specific points that you can improve in order to be able to create and own your future. So how can we create value? Well, I mentioned just before, the first step is to identify your true values, what is most important and meaningful to you. The reason behind that is that when you create value that is aligned with your personal value, you're going to feel a lot more inspired. You'll have a lot more energy. You'll be a lot more resilient. You'll be a lot more creative. So identify your true value, which is the small focus. Clarify your purpose and vision, which is about the big picture, knowing exactly where you're going in life. If you don't know where you're going, you'll probably end up drifting somewhere and chances you might not like what you get. And so defining and clarifying your purpose is really important to be able to see where you want to go in the future. The third point is about to harness your life experience. You already have a wealth of knowledge, wisdom, and experience that can be used in the service of others. However, very often the things we do easily, we tend to discount it or dismiss or even ignore or deny the value of it. But the key is we're here for a specific purpose. We have a specific skill, specific set of knowledge, wisdom, and experience. And that's where we can also make our original contribution. That's where we have the greatest wealth potential. But just knowing your experience and knowing your skills is not enough. You need to know how to package it to be able to create some form of service or product so you can start to transact it with other people. And you also want to solve a meaningful problem for others. When I say a meaningful problem, you want to be a meaningful problem for you and also a meaningful problem for other people. If it's only meaningful for you but not meaningful for others, you have no client, no customers. If it's only meaningful for others but not for you, you won't want to do it. You won't have the drive to do it, and you'll feel that, oh, I have to do that, and you feel like, ugh. And so it needs to be a meaningful problem both for you and for other people. The second step is about adaptability. And right now, that's where we're going to have the biggest learning curve in terms of what's happening in the world and all the disruption. We have to be able to develop our adaptability and our new capabilities. So why is it important to develop adaptability? Well, we live in a fast-changing world. Everything changes daily. And the inability to adapt creates chronic stress, both in the mind and in the body. And so if you don't want to be in the total permanent state of stress, you're going to have to develop your ability to adapt, to change. And it's just so much more fun to thrive, not just survive. I mean, we're not living here on this planet. We're not existing on this planet just to survive. We're here to thrive and be able to be the full expression of who we are and make the greatest contribution. So what is adaptability? Well, adaptability is the capacity to navigate, grow, and succeed in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. And that's what we're experiencing right now with the coronavirus and the pandemic. We live in a volatile, uncertain, very complex, also very ambiguous world because we get mixed messages. And so there's 4 ways to deal with volatility. And here I'm going to bring some concept from Nassim Nicholas Taleb and from his book Anti-Fragile. There's 4 different ways to adapt to volatility. We have fragile, we have chaotic, we have robust, and we have anti-fragile. And I'm going to develop each of these and give you some perspective on it. So the first one, being fragile. What being fragile means? Well, it means having a rigid mindset. It means resisting change. It means that when there's a small bump, we get hurt by it. We get easily overloaded or overwhelmed by the changes happening around us, whether they're small or big changes. And this underlines chronic stress because we have an inability to adapt to change because of the rigid mindset. And very often we end up being run by emotions. And so the combination of all those is what creates our fragility of existence. Now, on the opposite extreme, we have chaotic. Chaotic is having a lack of direction and purpose. It's having no structure and discipline in life. Not being able to focus on the things that are important. An example would be if you solely focus on your circle of concern and you grow your circle of concerns, you're going to lack structure, discipline, lack of direction, and lack of focus. Another way also to be chaotic is to constantly chase BSOs, which is bright, shiny object. Because there's always going to be a new bright, shiny object. But if you keep chasing the bright, shiny object, you're going to distract yourself, you're going to disperse your energy, focus, and attention. And therefore, you're not going to get the results you're looking for. And this also creates an underlying stress and overwhelm. Chaotic is related to play to win, going everywhere possibly. And that creates a lot of stress and overwhelm. And again, we end up being run by emotions. So being fragile is about play not to lose. Being chaotic is about play to win. Being robust, that was in an interesting. Being robust is being indifferent to what's happening. It's lacking motivation. It's feeling stuck. It's feeling mentally out of the game. But what's happening is because nothing is happening, we're just simply wasting time, just sitting there and doing nothing, being indifferent, being disengaged. And we miss a lot of opportunities. So that is being robust. But the solution to be able to handle and manage volatility and uncertainty is to develop the capability to be anti-fragile. Anti-fragile is about being focused and purposeful. It's about focusing on our highest priorities and having a clear sense of purpose, meaning, and direction. It's about being clear on who we are and being clear on where we're going so we can be confident of the path forward. It's about making small trials with small losses. It's about daring. It's about trying new things. It's about taking strategic action. It's about being realistic on what we do. And it's about testing, measuring, learning the lessons for what worked or what didn't work, and then refining our game consistently. Anti-fragile is about living in the world of uncertainty, but still making the most out of it. So here's another reality check for you. Again, I'd like you to score yourself on a score of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all, and 10 being absolutely 100%. And so here are 3 questions for you. I feel in control of my career or business success. If you're not feeling in control, if you're feeling that the world is dictating your success in your career and your business, you're going to score yourself around 1. If you feel totally in control, that you're in charge and you can influence your career and business success, you're going to score yourself around 10. The second question, I adapt to change and uncertainty quickly and easily. If the first little change that appears and that you freak out and then you get paralyzed and you freeze, you're probably going to score yourself around closer to 1. But if no matter what happens and no matter what comes your way, you always find a way to adapt quickly and then bounce back, you're going to most likely score yourself around 10. And the third question is, I can quickly regain my internal balance and calm when challenged or under pressure. Again, we are facing challenges every day, and there's going to be more and more pressure on us, specifically with what's happening with the economy. There's going to be a lot more economical pressure in order to be able to create a future that is sustainable. The government cannot keep spending money, and the money will have to be repaid at some stage. And that's going to create a lot of pressure on ourselves, a lot of pressure on people, a lot of pressure on businesses, create a lot of challenges. And so again, score yourself on 1 to 10 if you can quickly regain or not your internal balance and calm when you're challenged, where you're operating under pressure or under stress. Again, this is just a reality check for you to tell you, okay, what is your window of tolerance? Are you more rigid? Are you more chaotic? Are you robust? Or are you anti-fragile to what's going to happen in the future? So how to be more adaptable? Well, clearly to be more adaptable is about mastering your mindset and emotions. It's about building your self-confidence and self-belief. It's about having a congruent plan of actions, a plan of action that fits you, not just some other people's strategies. And the most important thing is about to decode and learn from life's feedbacks. Life is going to give feedback all the time. If you find a way to decode and learn from them, you'll be able to navigate uncertainty and even thrive through uncertainty. If you're not able to decode and learn the lessons, you're just going to keep repeating them. So the third step is connection. Why connection is important is because people are the real assets. No physical thing is important unless someone uses it. That's what people are the real assets. A mobile phone is useless just for the sake of a mobile phone. It only becomes useful because people are using it. We are social beings, and we derive meaning and purpose from contributing to other people's lives. So there's 2 aspects of connection. Connection between me and you. The first aspect is giving value. The second aspect is receiving value. And really, connection is about having both at the same time. It's about exchanging value. It's about me giving value to someone else and someone else giving me value back in exchange. That is really connection. If there's no exchange of value, there's no real connection between people because there's no purpose of having a connection if there's no exchange. So maximizing connection is about the quality versus the quantity. I'm sure you have thousands of friends on Facebook, but you probably don't really know them. There's not really much value that they bring into your life, and there's not really much value you bring into their life. And so I think with what's happening right now in the world, people are starting to realize that it's not about the quantity of connection, it's about the quality of connection that is really important. It's about having a real and genuine connection, a heart-based connection. It's about exchanging value between people, between ourselves and the people we connect with. And it's about creating defining moments. Defining moments are moments that are meaningful and memorable, because ultimately that's all we'll remember. And so here's another reality check for you. On a scale of 1 to 10, score yourself. I have a support network that believes in me. Do you have people that are really truly believing in you and believing in your potential? If you do, score yourself closer to 10. If you don't, just score yourself closer to 1. The second one is a sticky one. I truly value myself. So here I want you to answer that question based on what your life demonstrates and what is really showing up in your life. You might value yourself in your head, but your life and your behavior and your actions might show the opposite. And so, do you truly value yourself? Score yourself of 1 to 10. Do you think really good of yourself? Do you think you have the potential? And the third question is, are you confident to express yourself and your feelings? Or are you just keeping everything inside and not sharing anything, which ultimately will lead to a lot of chronic stress? So again, this is just a reality check for you to be able to see, okay, where are the opportunities for you to be able to work on so you can develop more adaptability? So how to connect? The first thing to connect is to value yourself. Because if you don't value yourself, other people won't value you. It's just a reflection of who you are. So if you don't value yourself, they won't value you. The other important aspect of connection is to genuinely care about other people. It's also as important to be selective in connecting. You're not meant to connect with everyone. You're meant to connect with the people that are really important to you and the people you get really make a difference in their life. And the fourth aspect is to be willing to serve and add value to other people's lives. This is where the value creation comes in. There's no connection until there is first a value creation. Otherwise, there's no reason to have that connection because there's no exchange of value. How to connect is also about developing emotional intelligence. It's about mastering your perception and emotions. It's about knowing your values, your true values. And it's also about navigating cooperation and competition because from both you will learn. Life is not about being all supported. Life is about being supported and being challenged. Cooperation is the support, competition is the challenge, and both are necessary to grow maximally throughout life. Finally, the last one is cash flow. So why is cash flow important? Simple, it's the lifeblood of the economy, but it's also the lifeblood of your living. We need cash every day to be able to ensure our living standard or our lifestyle. Cash is also a tool to amplify value creation because it increases the options we have to be able to create value. Money is also the most effective and efficient system of mutual trust. That's what really money represents, an exchange of trust between two people. And it's a simple and effective way to exchange and quantify trust. That's why cash is important. What creates cash flow? An exchange of value through service or product. Mutual trust between people. Solving problems. Having self-worth and self-confidence is crucial in order to create cash flow and retain cash. And the money mindset, especially your beliefs around money, are really important in order to influence your cash flow. What undermines cash flow? A lack of value creation and exchange. Low self-worth and self-belief. Unresolved emotions and limiting beliefs. Immediate gratification, which sometimes can lead to a waste of money. And a low value or low respect on money. And these mostly are related to value and belief systems. These are the main components that undermines cash flow. So here's the reality check for you. Again, on a scale of 1 to 10. Score yourself. I have a healthy belief. I have healthy beliefs about money. Do you think money is evil? Do you think money grows on tree? What's your belief about money? Are they healthy? Are your beliefs about money supporting you to be able to create cash flow or not? If they're supporting you, score yourself towards 10. If they're not supporting you and you're struggling with cash flow, most likely you're going to score yourself towards 1. Can you effectively master your emotions? If you're constantly on an emotional roller coaster, it's going to be very hard to master cash flow. Because, as Warren Buffett said, if you can't manage your emotions, don't expect to manage money. Money is one of the most emotional topics that exist. And therefore, the ability to manage our emotions is crucial in order to be able to master cash flow. And the third question is, I have resolved my deep-seated shame and guilt, because shame and guilt are the two most strongest emotions that really block cash flow, because they undermine your self-worth and your self-belief. And so if you have deep-seated shame and guilt, it's going to be a problem in order for you to create cash flow. Money will come but won't stay, or money won't come at all. And so cash flow really is 90% mindset and 10% strategies. Most people think that cash flow is all about strategy. It's not. If you can't sort out your mindset first, it doesn't matter how good is the strategy. You first got to sort out your mindset. And so here's the simple cycle of cash flow. We have ourselves, we have others, and we're going to create an exchange of value and mutual trust by providing a service, an idea, or a product to other people. They're going to use it, and in exchange, they're going to exchange that service, idea, or product and offer money in exchange. And so for us to be able to create cash flow, we have to be able first to find what value do we have, what is our value proposition, how can we help others solve a problem through a service, idea, or product that is relevant to a meaningful problem that they have. They're going to pay us in return through money, but we also need to have a money mindset to be able to keep the money. We need to have a high self-worth. We need to be able to dissolve our shame and guilt in order to keep money. Otherwise, we'll keep squandering the money. And so, as you can see here, cash flow relies around mindset and strategies, value creation, connection, managing cash flow, but also adaptability. And that's why I put cash flows last. It's a summary of all the different previous steps we've seen. And cash flow relies on the universal principle of fair exchange, a fair exchange of value between two people or more, between a person and a business. So to summarize what we've covered today, we looked at your focus. And the most important thing you can focus on first is your circle of influence, because that's what you have control over, which is your perception, your decisions, and your actions. And you don't want to have a too big distance between your circle of influence and your circle of concern. You want to keep them close together. There is a mindset shift that is required to move from a consumer mindset to a producer mindset. And moving from the consumer to the producer is about creating and adding value to other people. And the 4 keys to make that shift is to create value, to develop adaptability and resilience, especially around mental and emotional resilience to be able to adapt to uncertainty, is to create new connection, a deeper quality of connection through an exchange of trust and value, and it's to master cash flow by mastering your mindset and creating value to other people. And so these are the 3 things you want to focus on. If you focus on those 3 things, you'll be able to create some significant real life result in your life instead of getting distracted with everything that's happening around you around the world. These are the key things that you have the ability to change and influence directly. And now I'm going to take some questions.